need to be conscious of the way that you look. Walking around here with that ash on your head.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. Black Panther Wakanda Forever just introduced Riri Williams to the MCU. She's a really fun character, and the movie made me look forward to her upcoming Ironheart show.
Yeah, what is Ironheart anyways?
Well, Doug, that's what we're here to explain. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about Ironheart and why this is going to be one of the most important shows in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to tie into Young Avengers, Vision Quest, Spider-Man No Way Home, and at long last, it might even feature the MCU debut of Mephisto.
Not the beast! Not the beast!
But first I want to talk about Riri Williams' origin from the comics and how that is going to inform the direction of this show. Just like in the movie, she grew up on the south side of Chicago and grew up very poor, but she was extremely gifted, categorized as a super genius when she was just 5 years old. Now remember, this is Marvel Comics where there are super geniuses running around everywhere, so there was an actual protocol in place for this. Her doctor told Riri's mom and stepdad that they had to show Riri the good side of humanity so she didn't become introverted and turn into a supervillain. Like most heroes, she has a tragic backstory when her best friend Natalie and her stepdad were killed by a drive-by shooting when she was just a kid, and this happened right in front of her. So when she was just 15 years old, she got a full-ride scholarship to MIT, the alma mater of her hero, Tony Stark. So when she was at MIT, she built her own reverse-engineered Iron Man suit using spare parts and whatever she could steal from the MIT labs. And the result was a lot like what you see in the movie, kind of a janky but functional Iron Man suit. Campus police tried to arrest her, and then she flies away. But then she comes to the attention of Tony Stark. He starts to mentor her just in time for Civil War II to break out in the MCU, and that conflict leaves Tony in a coma. So Tony created an AI of himself to mentor Riri as she filled in for him as Iron Man, and eventually she renamed herself Ironheart. During this time, she gets close to Pepper Potts and Mary Jane Watson, who were both running Stark Industries at the time with the help of Tony's AI Friday. So this is where we might see a few things in common with the TV show. Because Tony was technically missing at that time, the board at Stark Industries tried to take over his company. And in Spider-Man No Way Home, we've seen that Stark Industries drones were seized by damage control, and then those same drones were later used to chase down Kamala Khan. So I've got some theories on how all of that is going to affect this show that I'm going to go over later in the video. Doug, do you mind? I'm trying to do a video here.
Oh, you're using that really good soap again, aren't you?
I am, I really am. I smell great. And you know, I never was a person for buying fancy soaps, but then I found these all-natural products that are made especially for men, made by Dr. Squatch, the sponsor of this video. You know, I never even thought about why it's so important for a soap to have natural ingredients, but think about it. These are the products that keep you clean, so it makes sense that you wouldn't want them to be filled with harmful chemicals. Every ingredient in a Dr. Squatch product is at least 98% natural in origin. So here's just a few ingredients in this soap. It's called Fresh Falls. We have olive oil, coconut oil, shea butter.
Yes. I'm getting all that, but also hints of Alaskan glacier mineral clay.
Yes, that is right. And this is actually one of my favorite soaps of theirs. It's called Wood Barrel Bourbon, which I highly recommend to you. And you know, the smells are all the more pleasant because they come from natural sources. Compare that with the labels of most brands, which are filled with synthetic chemicals.
No, thank you.
Dr. Squatch has a wide variety of natural products. They have soaps, hair care, deodorant, and more. And I'm telling you, when you shower with these soaps, you can just feel the difference. Like this conditioner, it's called Cool Citrus, and it contains shea butter, avocado oil, and menthol.
And it tastes great.
No, it doesn't. Don't eat the soap. The soap's not for eating, it's for washing. So Dr. Squatch offers super easy subscription plans, and they have a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you want to try out Dr. Squatch and help support our channel, we have a special code for you. New customers can get 25% off on orders of $40 or more. Use my code DSQ ScreenCrush25 and click the link in the description below. Now back to what I was saying. Now there are a few things about her in the comics that we won't see in the MCU, but they still say a lot about her character, like how she made friends with Dr. Doom.
But Dr. Doom is a bad guy.
Yeah, I know. He's my favorite bad guy in the comics. So while Tony was in that coma, Dr. Doom was trying to make amends for his troubled past, and he decided to become Iron Man.
I am Iron Man now.
So Riri then told him to stop, and the two of them started to bond over how boring school was for them because they were so smart. And then Riri guided Dr. Doom on a spiritual journey. All right, let's see, what else? She helped take down Hydra with the Champions, she fought Thanos, and briefly came under the sway of Blackheart, otherwise known as the son of Mephisto.
Not the bees! Not the bees!
Not the beast!
Right, and by the the way, if you like our Not the Bees gag, maybe you would also like our Not the Bees t-shirt, which you can get in the ScreenCrush merch shop at shopzeroedition.com with the link in the description. We also just added this cool new shirt, which depicts the entire plot of When Harry Met Sally as the Skrull from Star Wars. But moving back to Ironheart, a key moment from the comics that will likely affect her show is the Underage Superhuman Welfare Act, which outlawed teenagers becoming vigilantes. And this meant that Riri had to give up being Ironheart, temporarily of course. And also, she created an AI for her suit named Natalie, named after her dead best friend, and that AI could also appear in the show. So that's the basics from the comics and the building blocks of what could be in the Ironheart TV show. So now let's talk about the show, what we know so far, and wildly predict how this is going to fit into the overall story of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So the TV show comes out in the fall of 2023, even though it's already been filmed and it's 6 episodes long. So in Wakanda Forever, Riri loses her Mark I Ironheart suit, and then Shuri won't let her keep the Mark II suit, and then presumably she goes back to MIT at the end of the movie, with Shuri promising that she took care of all of her police problems. Actually, if Riri started MIT when she was 15 like in the comics, now she's 19, maybe when the show starts she will have just graduated and moved back home to Chicago. Now, in Wakanda Forever, Riri invented a vibranium detector, but the government was not able to replicate it, and we know that they will likely go after Riri to make another. She can refuse, but the government's still going to be looking for a way to control her or at least recruit her. Now, at D23, we learned that the villain in this series is going to be the Hood.
Where she lives?
Chicago.
The villain is Chicago?
No, the villain is the Hood. Okay, wait, I understand. The villain is a character called the Hood, not like her neighborhood. Now, in the comics, the Hood has an interesting backstory. The Hood gets his powers from an evil magic hood that gives him the ability to walk on air and shoot out demonic energy and like some other stuff. He originally stole this hood, not realizing that it was a super evil object created by Dormammu, you know, the guy who lives in the dark dimension that we saw in Doctor Strange.
Your world is now my world. Our world.
So during the event Secret Invasion, all the heroes were distracted by the Skrulls invading Earth, and the Hood set himself up an organization of supervillains, like he wanted to become the kingpin of all supervillain crime. And after Secret Invasion, he joined the Cabal, kind of like the evil villain's answer to the Illuminati. So the Hood started off as a very low-level thief who quickly became a power broker in the supervillain community. In the show, he's going to be played by Anthony Ramos, so the Hood's real name is Parker Robbins, and the footage at D23 revealed that Parker and Riri were friends. In the footage, Riri is working on her new suit, and Parker says, maybe you'll need to do some bad things to do some good, setting up that the series is going to force Riri into some tough ethical dilemmas. If I had to guess, I would say that her neighborhood in Chicago is in the middle of some kind of gang war. She's building the armor because the Avengers never bother with street-level Chicago crime. And maybe her friend Parker originally becomes the Hood to control this gang violence as well. Obviously, he steals the Hood, falls under evil influence, and then they become tragic arch-enemies.
Obviously.
High five. Kevin Feige dropped a few hints about their relationship at that D23 Expo. If you know the character from the comics, he deals in the dark arts. He deals in magic. Riri is a technologist. We've had technological heroes and villains, and we've had supernatural people deal with magic, but we've never had the two of them at the same time. So seeing Riri go up against Parker in a very unique way is what I'm most excited for. And this brings us to Mephisto. So when WandaVision came out, we scoured every episode for mentions of Marvel's version of the devil because he's such a key figure in Wanda's story in the comics. And
I was wrong.
but we had a lot of fun, guys. But believe it or not, there are rumors that Mephisto is going to be in this show, played by none other than Sacha Baron Cohen.
They're nice.
And with the Hood being in this show, this fits perfectly. Instead of the Hood coming from Dormammu, it could come straight from Mephisto. But because Mephisto is the Lord of Lies, he doesn't have to appear as the big scary fire creature from the comics. He can just be some guy who lives on the block and puts the Hood in Parker's hands. The MCU is already setting up a horror section of their universe with projects like Werewolf by Night, Blade,
Sure you're ready for that, Mr. Whitman?
and of course, Agatha, Coven of Chaos. Now, we've speculated for a while that the MCU could be setting up the super team the Midnight Suns, and Sacha Baron Cohen's Mephisto could be their primary antagonist. But in the meantime, he can pop up here and there in the MCU, causing mischief. This show actually releases right before Agatha, Coven of Chaos, so Mephisto, or even the Hood, could be set up to play a role in freeing Agatha from her mind prison.
Hiya, hun.
But there are a few other MCU connections in this show that are going to matter way more to Spider-Man, Young Avengers, and Secret Wars. So, like I said, in the comics, Riri is mentored by Tony Stark, but obviously, Tony Stark dead in the MCU, and Robert Downey Jr. is unlikely to return to a Disney Plus show as a hologram AI. But Ryan Coogler said that Riri does have a relationship with Tony Stark that is complicated. Now, she did go to MIT at the same time as Ned and MJ, so maybe she can meet them at the school. Or maybe Riri meets Peter Parker and then they form a relationship, which is a complicated relationship with his former mentor. I doubt it. I think the complicated relationship actually has to deal with Stark's patents and damage control. Remember, one of Tony's top concerns was always his tech being stolen and used by other people. That's what the movie The Armor Wars is going to be about. But now along comes Riri Williams, who's so smart she can reverse engineer Tony's tech, potentially placing her in violation of several patent laws. This is like in the comics when Stark Industries issued her a cease and desist while Tony was in a coma. We think it's likely that Pepper Potts is also in this show, and that she will ask Riri to stop what she's doing, maybe even threatening legal action.
But why would she do that? Pepper is a friend to the superhero community.
Well, like I mentioned, the Department of Damage Control seized all of Stark's drones and appropriated them so they could use them to capture superhumans. No Way Home made it seem like Stark Industries was in pretty big legal trouble.
Stark Industries was caught in the web of the Spider-Man Mysterio controversy today when federal agents opened an investigation into missing Stark technology.
Like Matt Murdock could barely help out Happy Hogan. Maybe Stark Industries is even under a court order to stop making super tech. So now it might look like Stark Industries gave their Iron Man tech to Riri Williams to make her the new Iron Man, which would put them in serious legal trouble. This is another reason that Pepper could ask Riri to stop being Ironheart. But in the end, I think that Pepper would give Riri her blessing and see her as a worthy successor to Tony Stark's legacy. But I do think the show will end with Riri going on the run from the government. Let's just say that the government passes the MCU version of the Underage Superhuman Welfare Act outlawing teenage heroes. Riri would be in violation of this, and the government would offer her a plea deal. Give us the plans for the vibranium detector, or we arrest your mom for child endangerment. So rather than place the family at risk, Riri runs off with her mom, puts her in hiding somewhere. Then I think that we could then see her appear in the rumored series Vision Quest. This series is supposedly going to pick up the story of White Vision that we saw at the end of WandaVision. Remember, this was the Vision's body with no memory until Wanda's recreation of the Vision shared his mind with him.
May I?
Afterwards, he declared,
I am Vision.
and flew away. The Vision Quest show would be about him regaining his humanity, and I think that in the process, he would gather up the Young Avengers. So in the comics, the Young Avengers were formed by a program that the Vision created, a program that was meant to reform the Avengers if they were ever disassembled, like they are now in the MCU. So what if, while discovering who he is, Michael Bolton Vision discovers and unites these separate characters, like Elijah Bradley, Kate Bishop, Cassie Lang, and maybe Riri Williams. Maybe this could even be some sort of predictive algorithm the Vision created, kind of like Zola's algorithm. That was a Hydra formula designed to stamp out potential threats.
A TV anchor in Cairo, the Undersecretary of Defense, a high school valedictorian in Iowa City, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat.
But the Vision's algorithm could be the opposite. It could be about gathering the potential saviors of the multiverse, the Young Avengers. Now, in the comics, the Young Avengers have very strong ties to Kang the Conqueror. One of their founding members, Iron Lad, is a teenage version of Kang, and when they change history to prevent him from becoming Kang, it makes things way worse for the present. I don't think that's exactly where they're going to go with this, but maybe Kang is a descendant of Riri Williams. That would make her incredibly important to his future, and it would mean that if she died, so would Kang. Hell, maybe that's the key to Vision's algorithm. Maybe he's able to predict the coming of Kang the Conqueror and he sees that he has to kill Riri. But then her friends, these new Young Avengers, team up to stop him. But that's just my thoughts and theories on Riri Williams and Ironheart. If you have any, let me know in the comments below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.